Hello and welcome to Devil's Advocate. As India marks another Independence Day, what is it like to be a Muslim in India? And what does the world look like when seen through Muslim eyes? That's one of the key issues I shall explore today with actress, social activist and former MP Shabana Azmi. Shabana, let's start with how the world perceives Islam. 7 years after 2001, many people see the religion as a threat, some even fear it. How do you respond to that?
With exasperation, with anger, with hurt, and with bewilderment. The fact is that Islam is not a monolith. It resides in more than 53 countries in the world and takes on the culture of the country in which it resides. So it's moderate in some, it's liberal in others, it's extremist in others, and it's, there's a whole range of Islam that's available according to the culture. But the world, particularly after September 11th, tends to view as synonymous with terror.
The sad part is it's not just Islam that's in a sense misunderstood, if not targeted, but Muslim people as well. In the West, particularly the Western media, because of the association with terror, Muslims have become figures of fear, for some figures of hate. Do you understand that or do you resent it?
I'll go back a little bit to 1992 when the Babri Masjid was demolished. I have been raised in a very liberal bohemian family in which religion has not played any part at all. For me, being a Muslim really was about Urdu, about eating biryani and wearing qararas on Eid. So the cultural aspect of me was Muslim. Otherwise, because I'm not religious, the religion didn't matter.
But then today, when in the eyes of people who don't know
so that's why
you're branded.
No, that's why I'm saying. And then what happened is after the riots following the Babri Masjid demolition, I suddenly had people saying, "You are a Muslim," and hurling it as an accusation or treating me with Dresden china. Either way, it was with a self-consciousness that I had never before experienced. It was very traumatizing. And what it made me do is it made me dig my heels in and say, yes, I'm a Muslim, and what do you want to do about it? That I can see increasingly happening, particularly in the Western world. A lot of young kids today are wearing the burqa, are taking on an identity which really they don't feel, just because when you push somebody against the wall, that's what they'll come up with.
In other words, you push them and make them defiant. You make them become something that they aren't and may not want to be, but they have to become in self-defense.
Absolutely. Yes, that's exactly what happened to me, and I see that refrain particularly amongst the young in the West, and it causes me some concern because what they're taking on is just parts of identity which really don't have anything to do with Islam.
Is that also happening to Muslims in India? Are Muslims today going through the same experience that Muslims in the West have lived through?
I think the Muslims in India, in spite of the fact that there have been communal riots, in spite of the fact that justice has not been got, even then I think the Indian Muslim is in a safer place, because the Indian Muslim has a stake and a space in India's democracy. It's a very huge thing that we are part of a democracy. An Indian Muslim can aspire to become a Shah Rukh Khan, can aspire to become Irfan Pathan, the President of India. And that makes the Muslim far more hopeful and far less in despair than in other parts of the world.
So it's the fact that they can participate in democracy, and more importantly, the fact that they can aspire to have dreams and live up to those dreams, that makes the difference.
That's right.
Have you, in your life, particularly in the last few years, because you're Muslim, faced up to distrust and suspicion? Have you suddenly noticed that people look at you in ways that perhaps they didn't earlier?
It again happened after the 92 riots, because, after the first phase was over, which was largely in the slums and not in the sophisticated areas, people weren't really affected during the December riots. And when January happened, when they got affected, it's when they woke up. But the thing is, because I was right there on the streets and I was so completely consumed by it, the minute I would speak about it, there would be this hushed kind of silence. I was not allowed to talk about it, and suddenly I was being branded a Muslim. But my reaction was the same during the Sikh riots, and I had reacted exactly in the same way. At that time, this wasn't flung at me. So that, to me, was very, very difficult.
Today, many people, not just abroad, but even in India, say that Muslims have to accept the onus of changing the image of their religion and the image of their community. Is that a fair thing to say? Or is
I think it is. I think it is. I would accept that, because I think that I don't think Muslim leadership has bothered to clear the air about what Islam actually is, because for far too long, and because of reasons of conspiracy more than intent, really, every time the Muslim question, if you look at what's happening in India, every time the Muslim question is raised, you look at all the politicians, whether it is Atal Bihari Vajpayee, whether it is Indira Gandhi, whether it is anybody, the minute it's a Muslim question, you'll get all the Dadiwalas and all the Maulvis only to speak. And I've always told them that why do you always leave it to the Maulvis? There are other people also. That's the moderate liberal voice. Why don't you ever consult them?